Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a great day on this very fine Tuesday afternoon. My name is Lyndaine, and I'm the Chief of Staff here in Fusang. Today, we're going to talk about why issue digital securities and also how to issue digital securities onto Fusang Exchange. Very interesting. I just wanted to mention this. Yesterday, there was quite kind of a big news within our industry where one of the main exchanges started offering, I would say, tokenized stock, right? Well, obviously, digital stock options are on the rise, but also unregulated digital exchanges. So how can we navigate properly in this new phase, in this new space? So Fusang is paving way forward to provide digital access to real-world assets on Asia's first and only regulated digital stock exchange available to retail investors. So today we're going to hear Henry speak about why we should issue digital securities. So following this, I'm going to walk you through on how to issue digital securities onto Fusang Exchange. I'm sorry, guys, I had a very strong coffee earlier today. So great. So, why don't we start? And, we're going to play a recording of Henry, again, walking us through why issue digital securities.
Issuing digital securities. Everybody today, I think, has heard of digital assets in some form. Certainly everybody has heard of things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and there's a huge amount of hype about them right now. Even 6 months ago, digital assets were still a bit more fringe. A lot of people were curious about them, but they honestly were very far from being mainstream. Today, I think digital assets are mainstream enough in the sense that not everybody owns Bitcoin, not every financial institution is involved in the digital security space, but everybody is thinking about it. And I think everybody realizes that this is the future. Real brief though, when I talk about digital securities, what I mean by this is there's an ongoing trend in capital markets today around dematerialization, basically taking physical paper share certificates and turning them into something else. And that something else is really what we Fusang are interested in. A lot of people are shocked when I tell them that in a lot of jurisdictions, like Hong Kong, for example, Hong Kong companies still have physical paper shares. I mean, literal touch and feel paper shares. And that blows people's minds. When I tell them that, they don't believe me. They say, you're pulling my foot. It's not possible. In 2021, we still have these slips of paper. It's just that you don't see them. You have intermediaries, company secretaries, custodians, etc., who handle all of that paper on people's behalf. But it's not that they don't exist. But I don't think that just taking a paper share certificate and turning it into a PDF is good enough. To me, that's a very sort of thin level of benefit. Yes, you've gotten rid of the physical paper, but honestly, as far as a technologist is concerned, it's still not what I would call digital native, right? It's not something that is interactable digitally or with a program. And that's why we Fusang are most interested in this. Blockchain-based digital securities, where we have taken that physical paper share certificate and replaced it with a blockchain-based token. And honestly, that is all Fusang is interested in doing. A lot of people are trying to create entirely new asset classes or new legal structures. I don't think it's necessary. I think that the concept of a share or a bond or a fund is fine. There's nothing wrong with the legal concept. The problem is the paperwork, the mounds and mounds of paperwork, and quite frankly, the layers and layers of intermediaries. That's the big problem that we have in capital markets today. And just by swapping out a paper share certificate for a digital token, we can already have massive benefits. And I'm not going to go through all these lists of examples, for example, that we have here, except to say that more and more banks and financial institutions have created digital bonds, for example, based on these blockchain-based tokens. The thing is, right now, most of these projects, even though they have created the bond, there's nowhere for them to get listed and traded. And that's why Fusang Exchange exists, right? We are the secondary market listing and trading venue for all of these digital issuances. So the next question is, well, why? Right? Beyond, I guess, the operational benefits of swapping out a paper share certificate for a digital token, why would a company be interested in a digital security? Because to me, the first level benefit of any digital technology is always better, cheaper, faster, etc. Right? It always, oops, sorry, getting a bit of echo. The first level benefit is always that digital means more efficient, but that's not good enough. That's a very thin level. Any good digital technology brings with it an entirely new model, so to speak, an operating model of how people can interact in the environment. And obviously in capital markets, that means issuers and investors. Today, capital markets are split into public and private, and they're really two very different environments. If you are a public company listed on a public stock exchange, it's a whole different world for you. When you need to raise capital, when you want to issue a bond, for example, you can go out there and talk to a whole slew of investment banks who are helping for themselves to do business. When you are a private company and you want to raise capital, it's a much lonelier environment. Your options really are talking to friends and family, going out to a bank and raising a term loan, or maybe talking to a VC fund. But it's a very different universe than the public capital markets. And I think that digital securities is going to start to blur that line when the public and the private markets increasingly look the same. And the question then becomes, how are companies going to be able to place their securities to what I call their own stakeholder base, people who already know and use and interact with the company. And it's going to be less about the operational mechanics, which is really what we see in capital markets today, and filling this nice little box here. You know, the number of companies in the world today that are public is less than 1%. This is the other 99% of companies that have been just left out, really, of global capital markets. So what can we do about that? Again, right, to me, digital goes beyond just better, cheaper, quicker, faster. Right now, if you are an individual, especially if you're a retail investor, you need to go to lots of different venues in terms of transacting in some of these products. You can go to traditional exchanges, and you're going to need to figure out connectivity across multiple exchange venues to trade these public stocks. If you want to access alternative asset classes, private markets, it's very difficult if you are a retail investor. And honestly, your only choice right now is to look at using proxies of some kind. To me, that's why the SPAC boom has taken off at such great velocity. I've heard SPACs described as a poor man's private equity fund. And to me, the reason why SPACs have exploded in volume are precisely because lots and lots of retail investors, more and more retail investors, oh, sorry, it's causing that echo. If someone on my team could just help mute everyone else while I talk. More and more people are looking for something that they can't get on traditional public markets, right? As I said, SPACs are one way of them doing so. Digital, again, we think uniquely combines all of these things into a single access channel. And again, the reason why I know that this is so appealing to individual investors, especially retail investors, is that you see this happening with things like the crypto markets. Again, I think the let's call it the ICO markets, where you have these tokens that are not securities, that are not really backed by anything. Honestly, I think that 95% of companies in that space are scams. But still, I think that they are a very interesting proof of concept. They've showed the overwhelming interest that individuals have in getting this kind of single platform access to radically different assets, to radically different companies. And we see this, I'm actually gonna skip over this, we see this because of the insane volume that you see in the digital asset market. I hear a lot of financial institutions say things like, crypto is interesting, but the market is still too small. And if you think about this in terms of market cap, that's true. Even with the huge rise of, let's say, Bitcoin prices, the total digital asset market cap today is, let's call it 1.5 trillion. That's very small compared to even something like Apple stock at 2.5 trillion. It's not, the entire asset class is not even the market cap of one stock. But the real story is not market cap. To me, the real story is these two bars: volume. Last year, 2020, global public market equity volume daily averaged out to about, let's call it 220 billion. That means that every single day on average, $220 billion worth of stock was transacted. This is all public market equities everywhere. You can see today, total digital asset volume daily is already a significant fraction of that, about 160 billion. And I'm willing to bet that by end of this year, that will actually be greater, meaning that every single day, more money will change hands in terms of digital assets than in terms of all global equities everywhere. To give you a very specific example, today, Apple stock turns over about $10 billion a day worth of transaction volume. Bitcoin turns over anywhere from 50 to $60 billion a day. So Bitcoin has 5 to 6x the volume of something like Apple stock. Bitcoin is a deeper and more liquid market than Apple stock and just about any stock on the planet. That to me is the real story. And as a issuer or as a financial institution looking to help issuers think about whether or not they create digital securities, to me, the single question that you should be asking is, what is driving this gold bar right here? Why? Why does this asset class have volume like nothing the world has ever seen before? I think there are a few reasons. Today, if a traditional institution wants to think about a digital security, they really can't access what I call a B2C channel, right? Again, the capital markets today are B2B2C, they're intermediated. I, as an individual retail investor, cannot walk onto the floor of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange and buy stock. I have to go through a broker. This is not how any other industry works in today's digital world, right? What customers want today is B2C, direct access to consumers, and they expect this to happen in a single platform. I go to Amazon precisely because Amazon is the single platform that stands between buyer and seller, and they take care of the entire fulfillment chain underneath. Instead of me going to, for those of you sitting in Hong Kong, somewhere like Lane Crawford, where I as the consumer know that I'm paying a markup because someone has to pay for the rent and the marble and the sales staff and all of that. Quite frankly, I go to Lane Crawford, I look at stuff, and then I order it on Amazon, right? I try on the clothes, then I order it online because it's cheaper and it comes in a few days. I think the exact same thing is not just going to happen, but is already happening in financial markets. This demand driver that you see here, right? That's what is driving the SPAC industry. That is what is driving the crazy crypto boom that's going on right now. The minute people can go B2C, things explode, at least in terms of trading volume. The problems are, as you see now, issuers don't know how to do it. They say, I like the idea, but I find it very scary, right? I don't know how to even begin thinking about issuing a blockchain-based security, and there just aren't a lot of platforms to help them do so. There are lots and lots of people who will do one slice of the value chain. Someone might help them create a digital token, or someone might help them with the secondary trading bit. No one is really helping issuers go end to end. And the analogy I always give is, imagine if you were a seller trying to sell your goods on Amazon, and Amazon said, look, I'll do everything, but you've got to figure out your own warehousing and maybe pick your own shipping provider and get back to us when you've picked your shipping service. It just doesn't work that way. People need a single A to Z platform who can help them do both execution and fulfillment. Very transparently, that's exactly what Fusang was built to do. Right? We knew from day one that we had to create a platform that we could both straddle the sort of new digital technology, but also be able to fit into existing regulatory boxes, which I think is very important. And I'll talk a bit about that in a second. We needed to provide that A to Z fulfillment chain between issuers and investors as a single platform. And obviously, it had to be digital. This point, honestly, nobody even challenges me on anymore. But even 6 months ago, people were asking me, why do I need digital? Right? Traditional stock exchanges work fine. I like ringing a bell. It's cool. Post-COVID, nobody says that anymore. Again, I won't dig too much into sort of the operational mechanics. I think we won't have much time in this call, and happy to take questions later in terms of each of these line item verticals and etc. But Fusang, as I said, we built a single platform where we can take everyone from the investor onboarding in terms of the digital identity, which is important because the way in which we create these digital securities, these are not just random tokens. These are not bearer shares. These are equivalent to any traditional share certificate, just in digital form. And like all share certificates, they need to be registered in someone's name. We've built this platform in the middle, the Fusang Vault, to act as a fully licensed custodian where we can both take possession of these assets, but also provide all of the asset servicing jobs around these assets, meaning doing things like acting as transfer agent, keeping the register of members, the cap table updated, etc. And then, of course, we built the exchange as the public market listing and trading venue. Again, gonna skip over most of these things and we can jump back to them later if people are interested. And just perhaps finish off by talking about this, which is, in the early days of Fusang, we tried very hard to go and work with a lot of traditional investment banks to say, you know what, we'll divert issuers to these investment banks. The investment banks will do the normal job in terms of putting together the structuring, helping them sort out all of the legal paperwork, and then they can come to us. We'll help them issue the digital tokens and then get them listed and traded. And we, I think, have realized that this doesn't work. That, again, just like the Amazon model, both issuers and investors need a single A to Z platform where they trust someone like Fusang will just help them do all of the intermediate steps. And that's why we've created this model where we say, if an issuer comes to us, we can basically roll out a template package, whether they want to issue equities, bonds, or funds. We can help them create the SPVs, do the legal structuring, including helping them file a public offering prospectus if need be for a public listing, all the way through to issuing the token, getting it listed and traded on the Fusang Exchange, and then everything obviously that comes after that. We very transparently are not an investment bank. It's not our job to help issuers figure out what they're selling, for example, to help them structure their issuance. But once an issuer engages with a partner or an advisory firm, or decides to do it themselves and figure out what they're selling, for example, that they want to issue 20% new shares at a $10 million valuation, and these are how, this is how the shares are going to work, like any issuance, we can help them with this template process, right? We have done this before in terms of understanding how to create these SPV issuer companies in terms of how to get these prospectuses filed with our regulators, all the way through to allowing retail investors to subscribe and then trade for these assets in the public markets, including allowing these retail investors to subscribe in both a range of fiat currencies and also in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, stablecoins, etc.
Okay, everyone. So I think that pretty much concludes why issue digital securities. Now, before I proceed to talk about how to issue digital securities onto Fusang, I would like to open the floor for everybody, for anyone who's dialed in today to ask us any questions that you have with regards to, again, why issue digital securities, or, you know, your thoughts around digital securities as a whole. Does anyone want to have any questions or like ask anything to our team before we proceed? I can see someone here whose camera is turned on. He looks like he's thinking. And do I put you on spotlight, Medat, and allow you to speak?
Can I speak now?
Of course you can.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
So my main objection, because I do day trading.
Yeah.
I have this one main question. How easy it is when I deal with your company, for example, if I'm trading within your platform, because I'm a day trader, I use, for example, either Fusang Bank application, or I use the HSBC Business Invest to make my daily investments. When I use your application, how easy it is to transfer money between your application and sending it back to my account, for example. And one of those main issues I struggle with when it comes to cryptocurrency, like it's easy to buy cryptocurrency, but I could never find an easy way to get my money back into my bank account unless I have to meet someone outside and they give me the money in cash. And I hear all of the stories, which causes a lot of scam in the market. How do you secure? This is the most issue for me, especially when it comes to cryptocurrency, for example.
Yeah. Hey, Ahmed. Actually, you know, Henry just joined in the call. Henry, I think the reason why I invited you here, because Medat has a very, very interesting question with regards to ease of our platform.
Let me just turn this on. Actually, why am I here? I can come to the room.
Come over. Okay.
Medat, like magic when I'm summoned.
If you don't mind, Medat, I'm going to ask you to ask a question again, because this is actually really interesting for us in Fusang. Literally just a few hours ago, we're talking about how we want to make everything easy for our customers, right? So this definitely is on point. So if you can wait for a few seconds until Henry flies into our global studio, which is going to happen in about a few seconds. Where are you at right now?
Me?
Yes.
I'm at one of my restaurants in Fusang.
Oh, awesome.
Hello.
Okay, here it is.
Here, like magic. How are you?
So Medat has a very important question with regards to the ease of using you know, our platform.
So, for example, if now I'm trading on my normal HSBC account, which is the Invest application, once I sell a stock or I buy a stock, the money gets traded automatically between my saving account, and I can easily see my money. I can easily, I have control over my money. I have control over my things. But one of those main questions is, okay, if I want to sell some of my stocks, which I buy in your platform, or let's come to another one. I mean, let's talk about cryptocurrency, for example. If I come in and I buy cryptocurrency from you, it's always easy. Anyone can buy a cryptocurrency. Yes. Anyone can transfer it from one platform to another. But how can I feel my money. It's okay. I know it's out there. I cannot touch it with my own hand. Okay, I get it. But once I need to get, for example, now today the price is, for example, let's say it's 1 million Hong Kong dollar for one cryptocurrency.
Yes.
How can I sell it and get my money back?
Yes. You know, I find I think that's a really good question. And I find it really interesting because I was having a chat with a very senior private equity executive here in Hong Kong the other day who said, hey, a few years ago, I bought a bunch of Bitcoin on Coinbase. I want to sell it and get my money out, except I suddenly realized I can't transfer more than $10,000 a day because they've got all these regulatory limits and all that stuff. We don't have any of those issues. So if you want to sell it back into US dollars, submit a withdrawal request, we'll wire it back to your HSBC bank account, for example.
So it's the same like pretty much buying any stock, pretty much.
Exactly.
It's the same.
And honestly, it's exactly like your HSBC account. It's not like they have a room somewhere where they keep all of your money, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, can't touch the money there either. And unlike a bank where you know, banks are not fully funded. That's the business model, right? You put money in the bank, they lend money out. It's not 100% always there. That's how banks work. We run a fully funded model, right? When we say that you've got crypto or shares or US dollars in an account, it's really sitting somewhere. You know, it's not like we ever hypothecate these assets or lend them out. So if you want to withdraw them, you can. That's not an issue. Although, of course, you know, the truth is right now, the fiat world and the digital asset world are quite separate, right? When you want to wire money in or out, unfortunately, it still does take, you know, 1 to 2 days, for example. You know, not much we can do, a bit out of our control. And that's also why we...
But, the reason I ask you this question is because I have read all of those articles, includes in Hong Kong. If you can even go to South China Morning Post and you can check it for yourself. People, they find it hard to sell their Bitcoin, so they go in and wanted to sell it in cash. So they sell it to the people in cash, and then the people starts to pretty much attack them and take the Bitcoin and also take the money. So it's not really a good thing to be traded with. That's what I meant. Absolutely. I don't want to buy it and then get stuck with it. I cannot sell it again. You understand what I'm saying?
That's the whole point of an exchange. If you can't
buy
wrong.
Yeah.
So pretty much your platform you can easily sell the Bitcoin or transfer the money into your bank account. It's pretty much easy.
Yes, that's literally what the platform is designed to do. And I think these are good questions to ask, because if you're using an exchange where their sole job is to help you trade things and they suddenly say, whoops, I can't help you do it, you have to ask questions, right? Why is that the case? Why are all of these exchanges struggling so much just to process wire transfers? In many cases, it's because usually they are unregulated. And so because of that, they don't want to allow their customers to in any way touch regulated banking infrastructure. I think they figure that as long as you keep it in the pure crypto space, then no one's going to find out and it's okay, which I think is a very short-term strategy.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that part, and I agree with them that they don't want to share everything with everyone. And I had another question, if you don't mind me asking. When I spoke with Julie the last time, she said that some companies come in and they pretty much apply for an IPO through your platform, right? What are the minimum, for example, for any company to come in and join? So, for example, if I'm a company and I want to come in and I want to get listed in your platform, or I'm just a normal, ordinary person who want to buy some shares from some companies in your platform.
Yes.
I want to know both sections because I'm involved in business and at the same time, I'm also a day trader. So if there is a good opportunity for me, why not?
Hey, Anas, do you mind sharing the one of the slides where it shows the main board and the private market, which obviously shows the minimum requirements as well? We're gonna, it's actually a very good transition with that. So then we can start talking about how to issue digital securities on Fusang.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
We should, I don't know if it's up yet, but we're putting together a course in the community as well, which should contain all of this information. Because obviously, you know, everyone has similar questions to you. So we want to make that easy and accessible for, yes, magic.
Yeah, so we can
you go
show the
down.
next page, please.
As much as I like our title slide. There we go,
Okay.
yes. I mean, we have two markets, effectively, we can call it, just like a lot of exchanges. We have what we call the main board for public companies that we're going to get publicly listed. We have slightly more stringent requirements for them, including we do require quarterly disclosures of financials and the like. In exchange, retail investors can obviously come in and trade the shares of these companies. There are a lot of issuers who come to us and they say, we don't actually want to get we don't want to become a public company. We want to technically remain as a private company. And we say that's okay as well. But in that case, we cannot allow retail investors to trade your shares. So that's the big difference. And to me, the big difference between who should become a public company or a private company shouldn't be one of size, right? Today, if you're a big company, you go public. That's just kind of what people do. That shouldn't be the case. It should be around, am I willing to go through the disclosures required to give my retail investors the information they need to make an investment decision, right? That should be the dividing line. And the whole point of the Fusang platform is we think we can take companies public way smaller than ever possible before. So starting from a market cap of around $10 million, right? We can actually basically take you through an end-to-end listing and issuance process. On the investor side, as you were asking about, the whole point of our platform is if this is a public market stock, right? So something open to retail investors, you can buy for any small fractional amount, right? So for Fusang, for example, once we're listed, you'll be able to buy one share, which will be, $4, for example. Are you going to talk about the issuer stuff today, right now?
Yeah, no.
Amazing.
I mean,
okay,
yeah.
I'll let you proceed then.
No, I think before you go, Henry,
Yeah.
I think this is I sort of like mentioned this at the very beginning of the call.
Like
obviously, yeah,
sky.
we are. So the industry got super excited when Binance announced that they are now offering tokenized stock, which obviously the first one is Tesla, onto their exchange, right? So obviously unregulated exchanges is now tapping into regulated products.
Yes.
So how is that different from what we're doing?
Yes. Oh, Binance is very careful to make sure that's not a regulated product.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point you bring up, because the whole reason why Fusang is doing our IPO now is I think that there's going to be a massive wave of people shifting from unregulated ICOs, or whatever you call them, utility tokens, into actual regulated digital security offerings. I think Binance sees this trend, is why they're trying to jump onto it. Very interestingly, if you actually go read the fine print terms and conditions of the announcement, they say, please note, these are not shares, these are not securities. This does not give you any legal or ownership rights in any way. This is just a token, which I find fascinating. And look, as I think we're talking about in one of our meetings this morning, I think Binance is very clear about what the client base is that they serve. If you are just looking to trade, right, that make gambles easily in a way that doesn't require you to do too much KYC, that you're not interested in answering questions, you just want to bet on things, it's great. If you actually care about what you're really getting and you want to actually buy into digital shares for real, as I call it, where you actually take direct ownership of a share, you become a shareholder, you have full legal and ownership rights like you would if you were an Apple shareholder, for example, or the shareholder of any public company out there, then I think you should do things properly. And the truth is, it's a lot harder to actually do things properly. It's a lot harder for companies to issue real digital shares as opposed to just creating these tokens that are not linked to anything, they're not backed by anything. But I think that the benefits are real. I think that investors are not as dumb as people say. I think today, even quote unquote retail and public investors, they know what's going on. And I think investors are starting to see through all of these things and say, wait a minute, what am I really getting here? The idea of digital blockchain-based assets is very interesting. I like it, but what am I getting, right? If you as a company, you say that you are all in on this next wave of blockchain-based digital assets, where's yours? Why are you not putting your shares on the blockchain? Why is BNB still just a random token, right? Why can't BNB represent Binance shares? I think those are the interesting questions that investors are starting to ask.
Yeah.
And Fusang obviously believes that if we can provide ease of access, where we say we can do things for real, but still allow investors to get access with ease, I think that's very exciting.
Absolutely. Okay, fantastic. So guys, I know we're running out of time, so I'm just going to quickly go through
and like a magic genie
process.
who is summoned, I will once again disappear. Thanks for your question.
Thanks, Henry. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to type into the chat box and we will definitely answer that in whatever shape or form. I'm going to send you, I know everyone here is already part of our community, so you can directly message Henry or myself or Kevin, our COO here, if you have any questions with regards to digital securities issuances. So very, very quickly, I'm just going to show you guys the requirements in terms of, again, listing on either our main board or private markets. And as if you can kindly show them the other document, please, that would be great. So we have a question here. Kevin, our CEO, perhaps, do you want to take a stab on Don's question? Question here is, Hong Kong SFC approving any STO?
Hi, sure, of course, Lyndaine, thank you. My name is Kevin. I'm COO of Fusang Exchange. Thank you very much for your question, Don. Yes, SFC has been looking into our digital asset space for the last 1 or 2 years. But I have to make comment that they've been a little bit slow compared to other regulators, right? So right now in Hong Kong, they have only granted one license to one of our comparable or our peer in this space, which is BC Group. So in terms of exchange operators, yes, they have already done this to the operator. But in terms of the FTO, the offering itself, there has been none so far, right? Really, the security token offering happening in Hong Kong. Indeed, what is the position in Hong Kong, as far as we understand, is the SFC here in Hong Kong, they try to regard STO as very much like, the traditional securities offering, all right? This is what, they mentioned before. So if there is something like, the STO offering in Hong Kong, they will base on the framework that they have been using to justify the offering in terms of securities in Hong Kong for this FTO offering. This is what they have been doing in the past, based on what they told the industry. But in short, there has been none been really approved in Hong Kong for the STO. I hope I answered your question.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Kevin. And thank you, Don, for asking that question. So very, very quickly, so Fusang, what we did is that as in the case of everything that we do here, we want to make sure that our issuers and including our investors will come on board onto Fusang with ease, meaning to say that we have put together an end-to-end solution for issuers to come on board and issue and list their own digital securities. So on this screen, you can see here pretty much the requirements that we have for public listing document for public listing. I think we can go to the next other pages and as showing the private market listing requirements very quickly. I think that's on the next page. Another one. Okay, so another one. So I can send you all the documentations or information later in terms of the requirements if you want to know exactly what documents we require for both private listing and public listing. However, there's not much difference really apart from, of course, what Henry mentioned earlier in terms of your willingness to disclose any information that will serve the retail investors just in case you wanted to list on a private board. So oftentimes you get asked like, how long does it take to process everything? The question is more like, is our issuer ready with all the documents that we require? So oftentimes a bottleneck really is the issuers that we work with. You know, they're lacking 1, 2 documents or anything that they have to process internally before they come to us and complete all the requirements. But with that said, if and when we have an issuer that will come to us and yes, we have everything complete and we are good to go, typically we'll probably be able to process everything within 1.5 to about 2 months. Am I right to say that, Kevin?
Yeah, of course, we are looking forward to that and, wholeheartedly, working towards this goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, I know, we've extended our time by about 10 minutes. I really appreciate you coming in here and dialing in and joining us on this fine Tuesday afternoon. If you have any questions, please message us again in our community, or you can also email us at business@fusang.co. With that said, we also have a number of events coming up. You can go to any of our events page to RSVP. The next one is going to be very exciting. So we are going to have a live Q&A to talk about Fusang and our own token, which is FSC, and why we believe that this is the next big thing in digital assets. So I hope you join us there. Just go to the events page and RSVP, and please ask us any questions that you may have pertaining Fusang, this token, and maybe this could be the next BNB, I would say, or even better. So again, if you are an issuer, if you would like to explore issuing your digital securities onto Fusang, please again email us at business@fusang.co with your name, contact details, the nature of your business, and perhaps where you want to list either on our main board or private market, and we will contact you accordingly and to talk you through the process. So again, thank you everyone. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us today, and everyone else who are in this call. So I hope to see you again next time.